Hello everyone, in this second video on the apparition of Our Lady at Fatima, I will provide the content of the messages from Our Lady from the first apparition of the angel in 1916, up to the second apparition of Our Lady on June 13, 1917. 3 children witnessed the apparitions of Our Lady at Fatima, Portugal in 1917, but only little Lucia dos Santos lived long enough to write about these apparitions in her memoirs. Before the first apparition of the Virgin Mary, an angel had already appeared before the children and had spiritually prepared them for this encounter. Miraculous. At his first appearance in the spring of 1916, the angel, who introduces himself as the Angel of Peace, teaches the children a very simple prayer. It consists of saying 3 times during the day, "My God, I believe, I adore. I hope and I love you. I ask your pardon for those who do not believe, who do not adore, who do not hope, and who do not love you." One might wonder why, at first glance, good Christians should ask for forgiveness, thus in a way apologizing for the offenses committed by non-believers when they are not at all responsible for them. In fact, it is part of the cooperation that God asks of every Christian in his plan for humanity. Asking for forgiveness for non-believers is akin to asking God to extend his mercy over the entire world, despite the ingratitude and sins of some people. And this concern of the Christian for the fate of all humanity, and not just for their own salvation and that of their loved ones, is part of this cooperation. It is recalled by the Apostle Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians in chapter 6, when he says, "As God's co-workers, we urge you not to receive God's grace in vain. The evil caused in the world by Satan and the other evil angels feeds on the sins of men and the evil inclinations of their souls. Conversely, evil recedes when faith, hope in the salvation given by God, and charity grow." Faith, hope, and charity are the 3 theological virtues defined in Catholic teaching, meaning the virtues that define our relationship with God. Charity begins with the love of God, and it is because we love God that He enables us to truly love our neighbor as well, and thereby to practice the virtue of charity towards them. Peace among men becomes possible when men entrust themselves to God, which necessarily and concretely involves the practice of sincere and frequent prayer to stay connected to God. If we want to practice the catechism derived from the apparitions of Fatima, to disarm all those who destabilize our societies or wage wars, we too can recite this prayer given by the angel 3 times a day. At his second appearance during the summer, the angel asks the children to constantly offer prayers and sacrifices to God, as an act of reparation for the sins by which he is offended and as a supplication for the conversion of sinners. He promises them, "In this way, you will bring peace to your homeland." We are then, of course, in the context of the First World War. Practicing Christians understand very well what the term sacrifice entails, but others may mistakenly see it as something masochistic. Thank you. Which has nothing to do with Christian religion. In religious matters, sacrifice is a ritual offering made to God, as in the sacrifice of the Catholic Mass, where the priest reenacts the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross through the Eucharistic prayer. It will later be specified by the Virgin Mary that the offering is the loyal fulfillment of one's duty according to one's state, meaning according to what one's social and family condition allows. But an offering can also consist of offering to God the sufferings we encounter in life or offering Him our good deeds. God then rewards this gift by alleviating the sufferings of humanity. Again, some might wonder, why does the angel ask us to pray for the conversion of sinners rather than to pray for the protection of the righteous and persecuted innocents? In fact, the conversion of sinners prevents the harm they can do to others. Thank you. Because by converting, they renounce sin and purify themselves through the remorse they feel. And furthermore, their conversion prevents their own damnation and suffering that will last eternity, whereas their bad actions were committed over the span of a terrestrial life. God prefers that souls, after death, populate His kingdom and not that of Satan. At his third appearance, in the autumn of 1916, the angel prostrates and says this prayer 3 times. "Most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, I adore you profoundly and offer you the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, present in all the tabernacles of the earth, in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifferences by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and the Immaculate Heart of Mary, I ask you for the conversion of poor sinners. As with the first prayer taught by the angel, we also have every reason to incorporate this prayer into our spiritual routine, repeating it 3 times a day. Let us now move on to the message of the Virgin Mary and her first apparition on May 13, 1917. As the angel had done during his second apparition, Our Lady warns the children that they will have much to suffer, but that the grace of God will be their comfort. The children will indeed suffer, because of all those who were determined to silence them. Our Lady asks them if they agree to offer themselves to God, thus respecting their free will, because God gives every man the freedom to follow him or not. Our Lady also confirms the existence of purgatory, which is contested by Protestants, by answering a question from the children about what happened to the soul of a recently deceased young girl. When the children ask her if this 19-year-old girl, who has just died, is in heaven, she replies that she is in purgatory, until the end of the world. This news will dismay the other villagers, who wondered what she could have done to deserve such a judgment when she died. Very young. A discreet investigation conducted by a priest will lead him to vaguely mention an irreparable sin of chastity in his words. It was perhaps an abortion, but no more will be known. During this apparition, Our Lady also communicates a light through her hands. An intense light that acts on the souls of the children, causing them to fall into adoration before God. In her memoirs, Sister Lucia identifies this light with God himself, in which the children see themselves as in a mirror. The children felt as if they were engulfed in God. Sister Lucia will add in her memoirs, "It seems to me that on that day, the reflection of light had the main purpose of instilling in us a special knowledge and love for the Immaculate Heart of Mary. From that day on, we felt in our hearts a more ardent love for the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Apparently, it is as if Our Lady could use a light that is the substance of God himself. The light allows both to purify the soul and to transmit to it a great love for God, like the purifying fire of purgatory. And this by incorporating the human soul into the divine substance, materialized by the light. Many believers think that when Jesus says, "Thank you, I am the light of the world," it is an image of what he brings to humanity, but it is actually clearly more than an allegory, it is a concrete reality. In other apparitions besides Fatima, the Virgin Mary also communicates graces through her hands and the light she emits. We could visualize in our prayers these gestures of Mary, the purity and love that emanate from her divine person, imagining that this light reflects upon us, and that this light purifies us while we contemplate the flame of her Immaculate Heart. Mary asks us to unite with her through prayer, and particularly through the prayer of the Rosary, which she requests to be recited every day in order, I quote Our Lady of Fatima, to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war. Our Lady will repeat this request at each of her apparitions in Fatima, as in all her other apparitions around the world from the 19th century onwards, to my knowledge, in any case. The apparitions of Fatima were partly intended to urge people to pray to hasten the end of the First World War, which indeed happened shortly after the end of the apparitions in Fatima. We must understand that, in the event of war, the prayer of the Rosary will be our main protection, both collectively and individually. At her second apparition, on June 13, 1917, Our Lady requests devotion to her Immaculate Heart. She shows the image of a heart surrounded by thorns, as it is outraged by the fathers, sins of humanity, and who asks for reparation. To Lucia, she says, "Jesus wants to use you to make me known and loved. He wants to establish in the world the devotion to my Immaculate Heart. To those who adopt this devotion, I promise salvation, and these souls will be loved by God, like flowers placed by me to adorn his throne." For this video, we will stick to this beautiful image of souls transformed into flowers by Mary. In the next video of this series, we will talk about the secrets and prophecies concerning the nations from the apparition of Fatima. Thank you for listening to me. Feel free to share this information. And why not join us in the non-virtual world? Have a good day, and may God bless you. Thank you.